All right, guys, I'm here with Janine Stange. Janine, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did I say your name correctly? Janine Stange?
That's not too bad. Usually people say strange, but it's actually Stang. If you think Mustang,
Stang, gotcha.
it's all good. Yeah.
Stang, okay. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I could see how people would say strange because it looks so close to it and
Yeah,
would
people just
confuse it.
automatically insert the R. Yeah.
I believe it. I believe it for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
You got a nice easy Jeff Clark. I mean, that's just
it's very
can't mess
simple.
that up
Yeah.
unless
Well,
anybody ever has.
my full name is Jeffrey, but it's spelled Jeffrey. So
Oh,
people question it when I write it down, or they have to
yeah.
say it out loud. They're like, "Is that spelled correctly?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Hey, did you
spelled
spell
my
your
name
name
right."
wrong?
Yeah, I spelled my name right. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I get it. I get that often. So uh,
Yeah.
for the longest time, I just put Jeff on things, so I didn't have to explain it. But then
Yep.
they want, "What's your full name? Is that your full name?" I'm like, no, I'd have
Yeah.
to spell it out. Then they question it anyway, and I just gave up. So
Uh-huh.
I'm like,
When
whatever.
I order coffee, it's I never, even though my name, I don't think it's really uncommon, but I just literally just tell people J. Just put J. Like, like, okay, I don't give them my full name because it just doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. So, thanks for coming on. I'm really looking for unique people that have done some really unique things to have on the podcast. And you've done something that I don't know anybody that has ever done. Maybe somebody's done it since then, but you were the first person to sing the national anthem in all 50 states,
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
which is a huge feat.
It was pretty crazy. I learned a lot from it, and I mean, I didn't realize nobody had done it. It wasn't something I was thinking of for years. It was kind of all came together. But yeah, it took 2 years to do.
Yeah, what was like the motivational thing to start it, or was it just you were out there singing because you're a singer as well? And
Yeah.
did you just have the chance to sing the national anthem and then it rolled into this, or how did it all come about?
Oh, it is that's a long story. Make it a kind of like a simple thing, it was more so there was a lot of paradigm shifts or one major paradigm shift in my life that I just kind of it made me question all of my goals, all of the things I wanted in life, and then I just kind of said, I've sung the national anthem a bunch of times. I liked singing it. And it was for many reasons. I liked it because I got to use my voice to honor our nation's heroes. I know that you're in the Air Force, so thank you
Oh, thank
for
you.
your service.
Yes.
And then I kind of just realized that this would be a way. Um, there's two angles of it. Like I was doing a lot of singing, and the music industry wasn't what it was as I was younger learning about the industry. It was like rapidly changing, and I didn't really like that. So I said, if I could avoid having to feel like I have to get that illustrious record deal and all of these other things, but still be able to use my voice,
Hmm.
where could I show up that the only thing I need is a microphone? And even if they forget that, I could still do it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and there was just one day me thinking, people run marathons. I'm not a good runner. What do they do for causes? And I said, I sung the national anthem in a few states. Started to wonder if anybody ever sung it in every state, and looked it up, through the major research tool we all have, Google, and nobody did it. So I set out on that journey, and it was pretty crazy. It was a lot of fun, but I look back on it and think that was the most you feel alive, even though everybody looks at you like, oh gosh, that's crazy, why would you do that, and they're sitting home watching TV saying that to you. But when you're actually getting out there and seeing that, when you put it all on the line, all these other things in your life or inside of you come to life,
Hmm.
and all focused on getting that one thing to happen, and you kind of prove to yourself that there's really nothing you can't do. There
So,
isn't anything that you can't do.
so what was it like for you the first time you sang the national anthem in front of a big crowd?
Well, there's a It's actually a documentary out, and it kind of goes through all of the craziness, um, because I was the shyest kid you'd ever met when I was younger. I remember when I was like, I don't know, like probably third grade, some teacher came and asked if I wanted to be in the school play. And I was trembling at the thought of that, just to be out in front of people. And so the first time, but I always knew I loved to sing and I could sing, but nobody knew except the four walls of my basement for a long time. And I was a freshman in high school and sang for the homecoming game and was trembling so badly that as I sang, it just got worse and worse. When I finished, I remember walking over to my mom, like still holding onto the microphone because my hand was stuck. I couldn't open my hand. That's how bad it was. And it was
Wow.
sort of like a point for me. My parents always taught me, thankfully, run towards your fears. Don't just sit down because you're afraid of something. Figure it out, work towards it. And I just became determined, like, I can't let this take me over. And I just kept going. And it just took a long time, but I finally got over that.
Yeah. So singing it 50 times in 2 years is an average of 25 times a year at
Oh,
different.
I sang it way more than that in
Yeah, I'm
those two
sure you
years.
did.
Yeah.
Officially, to
Yeah.
get all 50,
Yeah.
you sang it at least 50 times, obviously a lot more. But what was the traveling like? Because getting to different events, and I don't, was it different sporting events or just major events, or what was it?
Anybody that would have me,
Okay, so anything.
I had, yeah, so I mean, but it was mainly sporting events just because those were consistent and those
Right.
always had the national anthem. But the travel was, here's the thing, like back when I first started, I mean, we're talking about 2012 now. I was sort of just doing it as I could. Like my thing was, this is a sort of a hobby at this point, and I will just do it as I get enough money to go somewhere, I'll do it. Um, Semi-actively seeking out different states, but not too concerned, thinking no one's ever going to want to do this anyway. It's not like this is going to turn into some like race with other people trying to do this.
Right.
But what had happened was, so I had, had about 10 and then, whatever. And in 2014, January of 2014, I was shutting the trunk, and this is all in the documentary, and it's funny to see they kind of recreated this car in somebody else's hand, shutting the trunk of a car and seeing that the license plate said Star Spangled 200. I was in Maryland. It was my boyfriend's car. I was getting groceries and saw that there's his license plate, never noticed it, said starspangled200.com. And I remember taking my phone out, walking back to the house and searching and seeing that I had no idea that the national anthem was turning 200, September 14th, 2014.
Hmm.
So I had 9 months to get all the rest of the states in. And at that time, I think I was like 24 states in, 25,
Okay, so halfway.
maybe not. Yeah, no, actually, let me think about this. Uh, yeah, probably about maybe like 20, 21 states. Again,
Okay.
the movies got it. I don't have my facts right on that. But the point is I said, oh no, I've got to finish because what a perfect thing to do to raise awareness. Before I was doing it, I thought it was a nice thing to do. Nobody's ever done this before. And then it was all of a sudden, I wonder how many people actually know that this song is turning 200. But more importantly, the ability to honor the people who were there, were putting their lives on the line for our country throughout the years, not just then,
Yeah.
back when the Battle of Fort McHenry. But I just felt like this is a great opportunity to embrace a cause and go for it. And it really was when the pedal went to the metal and the resourcefulness came in trying to figure out how can I do this. I didn't have a corporate sponsor. I don't know if you know how expensive it is to fly all over the place.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
It's crazy. So I just kind of said, this is what I'm going to do. And found I was cold calling everybody I possibly could, every college team, every major league team. Some of them thought I was crazy, because you don't get paid obviously to sing. So they're like, "You wait, where do you live? And you want to come here to what? Oh, okay, sure, I guess." And that's kind of how it start. But then, you get more serious, they get more serious because they're seeing this is really happening. It's not just like, I'm sure people get calls all the time about some crazy stuff, and everybody gets all these jackrabbit starts, but then realizes how much work is involved, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
stop. So, so yeah, the travel was crazy, and I mean, there were times. I mean, I didn't even unpack my luggage. I just would sit in the living room, take the clothes out, wash them, put them back in, depending on what weather I was going to, and that was it.
So what was the let me ask it this way first. What was like the most unique or weirdest place or venue that you sang at?
Oh, there were a lot of really unique things. I mean, donkey basketball in West Virginia was interesting. I never knew there was such a thing.
No, me neither.
Did you ever hear
That's
of that before?
no.
Okay, no, yeah. Smelly, slightly smelly. But it was because I was supposed to sing at a baseball game, but it got rained out, and there was not like room in my schedule or my budget to come back, So thankfully, the athletic director of the high school was pretty resourceful as well, and said, "I know there's going to be a game at this, it's a donkey basketball fundraiser, but if you're okay with it, let's do that." So I did. They lined the entire gymnasium floor with paper for obvious reasons, and it was fun. And there's footage of that too.
So you
If anybody wants to actually see that, you could watch it
but that
in the
checked West
documentary.
Virginia off the list then.
I was very happy, and I talk about that a lot. I mean, there were other things too. I mean, when I was in Montana, I got to fly a T-34. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
I got to do two roles. I didn't actually do the roles. The main guy,
Right.
I don't know. It's a two-seater. So what's the right term for the front seat? Is it just
Uh,
the
Usually it's the instructor pilot or the the co-pilot or whatever.
Okay, so anyway, we did two roles, and I got to actually fly it, which was fun, although nobody probably would want to fly with me because I was doing these pretty like really steep turns. I didn't really I didn't
That's
really
cool
know what
though.
I was doing. I was asking him to straighten me out. He's like, "I was wondering when you were gonna ask."
So what was the biggest venue that you did it at?
NASCAR. I sang for the NHMS Sprint Cup, so it was New Hampshire.
Oh, that's cool.
And I assume there was almost, if not 100,000 people there. People look like dots at that point, and you're so
Oh
far
yeah.
away from it. You're kind of in the middle of what seems like just like some construction site because they're setting stuff up, and you're in the middle of the track, really. So you don't really get to see much. It's kind of weird to do a NASCAR. Anybody that's been on those tracks, first of all, you can't hear anything
Hmm.
when I mean it's absolutely crazy. But it was a lot of fun just to be able to say I did that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that was the biggest one aside from live TV.
And those tracks are so big. I mean,
Oh my
even
gosh,
the
yeah.
small tracks, you got to think if it's a half of a mile oval, it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
that's big. That's really really
I
big. I mean,
Yeah, I walked
huge.
down when the race was going, and I didn't realize that you literally get pushed back if you're standing near the fence. Like
Yeah.
it was overwhelming. We took my niece at the time. I think she was probably like 3, and she just was. We had those big headphones on her. We were like, we gotta go. We can't. And then you only rely on your phone to be able to talk to people because you can't hear anybody unless you're really good at reading lips. You're just like burning your battery trying to get reception, trying to talk to people. So that was kind of crazy. But a lot of fun. A lot of fun to be able to do that. In fact, they had sent me a flag ahead of time, and so like we were kind of promoting the fact that I was singing for that event by like taking the flag to all the other states, and like it's all in the so I got all these photos and stuff. It's Thank God for iPhones, because if I had to develop all these pictures, it would be insane
Oh yeah, I'm
back in the
sure.
day.
I'm sure you've met a ton of people doing it. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
tons of
yeah.
athletes and executives. I mean, I can't imagine the. Well, what's it like going to the stadium and being the singer?
Uh, I mean, you got to get in is on time. The game can't start without you, and y it just depends on the event. I mean, like you said, you get to meet a lot of interesting people. I mean, but I didn't know a lot of sports people either. Like I would go, I was standing next to Kevin Durant, didn't even realize it, and I posted the picture on Instagram, and people were like, "Do you know who that was?" I was like, "No, he was just warming up," and they're like, "Are you crazy?" You know, there was one time I sang for the Galaxy and David Beckham. I was hanging out with his doctor. He has like a doctor that's on the field that like kind of runs the field with him. Again, this all it was all foreign to me, and I was just like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm kind of like making sure he's okay. I guess something had happened. He had a security guy and a doctor." It's just pretty
Wow,
crazy.
that is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. You don't want to get lost you don't want to go like wander around and think like, let me go run to the bathroom before I sing because sometimes those long and winding roads back to the inside it could be hard to find.
Yeah, and I'm sure they keep pretty close tabs on you as the game's
Yes.
starting because they don't want you to just walk off and
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean,
then what?
if you're a professional, you're not going to do any of that crazy stuff. But I've
Right.
heard stories. I mean, also been times people forgot to bring me the microphone. They forgot to come down with it. Things like that.
Oh wow.
If you do it that many times, something is bound to go wrong. But it's fun, and I don't do it a lot anymore. I do a lot of speaking, but the singing part was really kind of probably what gave me the ability or trained me to be able to be on stage and not worry about people looking at you and all that.
Oh yeah, it's like the ultimate,
Yeah, it's
test
you and a
is
microphone. You don't have anything to cover up
no.
uh or anything like that. So
Well, and
yeah,
it's the
you
national
better
anthem
know what you're
too.
doing.
Like it's the
Yes.
it's the one song that basically everybody knows. So
Yep.
if you goof up a word or even the
Yep.
timing, people have their own,
Yep. Yep.
thoughts on the timing of it and even the notes,
Yep.
that is a very
Yeah.
judgmental
Yeah.
scenario to be in and to do it 50 plus times is crazy.
When I first started out when I was in high school and years later I always treated it as like you don't realize it until you start to meet veterans who you know have a moment all that is completely unique that they have some type of unique tie to it, whether it's like when they enlisted or when they came home and they heard it for the first time, whatever it is. I learned because of them that that song is not my song. That is a song that I should sing in a way that it is sing-alongable and don't embellish. Don't make people like sit there listening to you, wondering where you're going to go next with this melody and what acrobats you're going to try to do. It's not a song to show off.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
and
pure.
I learned that from when I was trying to do that for years, and then I realized as I started the journey really was how I was like, okay, no, no, like I kept stripping it down to just be something that I could literally hear everybody start singing along with me, and that's when it felt the best.
Mm.
And I think that's a lesson when you start to do things and you make a pointed effort to be like, this is not about me, then it can become bigger than you because you're not trying to control it, and then it works.
What were some of the reactions when people or you told people, "Yeah, I'm doing it in all 50, and I'm going to get it done like in 9 months, like real quick. Like I'm pedal to the metal now." What did people? How was the reaction when you told them you're going to do it in all 50 states?
Well, I think a lot of people were starting to get behind me. Thankfully, I was able to get on national news. Didn't mean to do it. There was a woman. Her name is Heather Nauert. She was on Fox and Friends early in the morning, and she had seen this on Twitter. That I was talking about it, And then I remember she just sent me a DM and she said, do you have photos of the places you've been already? And I said, yeah, I've got photos and I'm trying to get to all 50 states. And this was in April of 2014. So it wasn't like I was trying to still figure it out. And then they invited me on and I remember it was like 6 o'clock in the morning that I got there, but I had like literally launched a GoFundMe type camp. It was indie. I don't know. It was one of those like, crowdfunding campaigns
Yeah.
and just hoped for the best, but was prepared to hitchhike if I had to, if that didn't work. But thankfully it raised enough money for me to eke right to the end, and that was great because people were supporting me, but also there were people that were then saying like, "Hey, we've got an event." I remember a guy from Idaho wrote me and said, "We've got um, the center of the universe. We have like every summer we have this like gathering all the people in our town. We're from Wallace, Idaho. Can you come and sing for it?" So there was like a couple of things I was able to plug in as
Mm.
well. So it made it a little bit easier. And I started to learn, don't just fly out to one state and fly back. Try to get events that are,
Yeah. Close by.
you know, an anchor city and stay at that hotel and just drive back and forth. So I did that a couple times. I knocked out 3 states at a time a couple times, which was fun because I didn't have to spend so much money.
Yeah, and it'd be easier to be gone for 4 or 5 days and knock out 4 or 5,
hmm
states and come back as opposed to, flying from, the East Coast to the West Coast and doing one, and then flying from the next, 2 days later,
Yeah.
flying from the East Coast to Texas and then
hmm
back, and that would
Yeah.
be tough. Like
I
that.
had it in yeah, I mean I was perpetually jet lagged. I had a in my apartment, I just converted it to what I like to call my situation room because I put an index card up for every state, put all the information of all the potential events that I had. Then I had like a double list where I would just make sure I didn't miss a state because that would be horrendous. Imagine you're like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Oh no, I'm not. I missed this state. So I had to make sure I did all that stuff. Um, and again, then that was when I started to see like anchor cities and oh, actually, Iowa is close to, this Nebraska event, so I could pull them together. So it was just constant. But they literally in the documentary, it was crazy. I called the producers. I'm like, you literally recreated my apartment and they did all of because I found I saved all of the index cards and all the information
Mm.
and gave it to them and they like found a room and made up the whole room again and I was like, oh gosh, that's giving me flashbacks, but they did that.
So, speaking of the documentary,
hmm
how did that like become a development? Because it happened. Obviously, it happened well after you were done. But
yeah
how did it start, and then how did it kind of get developing into recreating this?
um so the film company Kelly's Filmworks, they actually saw me on the news and this was like about when I was only just starting the year of 2014, and they sent me a message and they said, we're a film company, and if you can book the Louisville Bats, they live near Louisville, Kentucky, we will come and film you. I'm sure based off of what they had seen on these news appearances, I clearly was only handing people my iPhone and hoping that they would actually not have it turned on them. That actually happened a few times. I'd give somebody the phone and they're filming themselves watching. I'm like, did you know that you would have flipped the camera? Um, but so they were very, very kind to say, we will come, we'll film you, it'll be great. Well, I booked the Louisville Bats, thankfully. I'm sure they had a little poll. They probably called the place, but they came. It was my 47th state, so this was like later on. But I had told them like, yeah, I got it. And you got to remember, there's also the concern of like, who are these people writing? Like, there were random people that would be saying like, oh, come here, but you have to still vet everything out.
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
just this woman traveling around making sure that everybody's like inviting me to legitimate places.
Hmm.
They end up, they're still very good friends of mine, but they came down and no thought of, we're going to make a documentary out of this, but they had that film and then they said, well, my 50th state was like 2 weeks later, and that was in Tennessee, ironically, relatively close. I think it took them, only a couple hours to get to LP Field. That's the name of it. At the time, it was for a Titans versus the Vikings game. That was my final stop, August 28th. And they had said, we had so much fun. They were so great in Kentucky. They said, we're going to come. If you don't mind, we'll come. And let me tell you, I always say that they were like two angels for me because at that point I was done, physically like spent. And they drove me to the event. They helped me, just with certain things that I wouldn't have even thought of, I was able to get really good footage. But 2 years after that was all over, we always stayed in touch. We would check in on each other. And they said, has anybody ever talk to you about doing a documentary? And I'm like, no, they're like, well, we know you've got all this crazy footage and can you get everything together? And then I think it took them like 2 years and they worked on it. And then they had me come out and I kind of narrated it like by talking about all the stops, but then they put it all together and it was really cool of them to do. And now it's it's nice because there's aspects that I probably wouldn't have remembered if they didn't go to such painstaking detail reading all the articles and stuff like that to
Yeah.
kind of put it all in there. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What was it like when you found out it was going to be on Amazon?
I didn't, I mean, I kind of was more interested in just knowing that it was done. I think they kind of, I don't remember the day. That wasn't like a moment where I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Um, but it was cool to just be able to say to people, you could just go to Amazon and watch it. That was nice. It was made things easier.
Yeah.
But they were working with like it was pre-COVID, and then COVID hit right when they were putting it in theaters and stuff like that. There were some people that would write me and say it was I went to the movies and I saw your name on the marquee. It was pretty crazy.
Hmm.
And then COVID happened, so it went back to people predominantly, obviously, saying I'll watch it online, or they ordered the DVD and stuff. But it's nice to be able to, especially now that I do a lot of speaking. That's pretty much all I do, is to be able to tell people if they want to see that journey. Um, they can just go right and watch it. And it's nice because it kind of enhances the stuff that I talk about.
Right. So, and part of the profits from the documentary go to
Hmm.
veteran services and other
Yeah.
different organizations.
Because that whole journey for me was a way to say thank you to veterans. And they completely embraced that. So for the whole journey, I'd say from state 20 on, I had this idea of let me invite people up because I would be sitting at the game. I obviously traveled to an event, so I'm not going to like sing and leave. So I said I have extra time after I'm done singing, and the event director coordinators would tell people after I finish singing. She's singing in all 50 states, but on top of that, she's collecting thank you notes that will go into care packages for our deployed military.
Mm.
And I was able to collect like thousands and thousands of these cards, and it was amazing to interact with people, mind you, like from all walks of life, from everywhere, all across the country coming up. Some parents were coming or grandparents were, bringing their grandchildren to write cards and explain to them the importance of saying thank you to our veterans. It was really moving. And I didn't want to raise money for any organizations. I don't like to ask for money, but I felt like just asking people to take a couple of minutes out of their time to write a note would be great. And it ended up being amazing. And then the producer said we're going to continue to give a portion of the money to a different, they pick a different veteran organization every month or every quarter and send them a check, which I think is amazing that they're doing that. They don't
Yeah.
have to do anything like that, but they really goes to show their hearts, the heart behind what they wanted to make sure this, the story was told, but also um, you're telling people to be grateful and give back, or you're just showing that, and then you're actually doing it. It speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's such a cool thing to hear that it was not just singing the song, you know. I think a lot of
Hmm.
times people kind of, maybe take that moment for granted, and at one point in
Hmm.
time, it was even a controversial type of moment
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
sports and just events in general. But to see it, and to see you continuing to do it and to pressing on for basically the original reason,
Hmm.
that it was written, was celebrating the country, celebrating the sacrifices, and to see you press forward was just really, really motivational, very cool to see. And now you've kind of turned that into motivational speaking, and now that's what you do 100% of the time now, right?
Right. Yeah. It's because I had so many stories initially. That's how it started. There was a never forget him. His name was Cliff, a 92-year-old World War II veteran. He stormed Normandy on D-Day, and I met him ironically in Kentucky. So the film crew actually captured the conversation. He was a season ticket holder, well beloved fan. Everybody at the Louisville Bats games knew him, and somebody came up to my table where people were writing cards for our veterans and said, "You need to meet Cliff." So I went down and they filmed me going down to meet him. And I'm so happy that even if it was just for that moment, because it was just priceless to be able to sit and talk to this man who, I just got to ask him some questions. I even asked him, like, what advice would you give to young people? Because unless you want to go travel around, I'll go and be your voice. I'll go and share your message. And I'll never forget it. He said, well, tell people that this is their land, love it, live on it, and protect it.
Mm, that's
And
awesome.
I will never forget, I was finished with the journey, and there is a letdown of like your adrenaline is pumping. Your schedule is insane, and then it's over. You finish, and now you're like, what next? What do I do? And I was driving home at the time. I was living in LA, and I was driving home from an event I sang at in Palm Springs, California, and I was on the 10, and it was a lot of traffic, and I was just thinking, just random, whatever, and all of a sudden it hit me. I was thinking about Cliff and the fact that he'd kind of given me talking points, and I told him I was like, what's your advice? And then forgot about it. I said, wait a second, this guy told me these amazing points that I should be sharing with people.
Hmm.
And I remember it's dangerous. I shouldn't have been on it, but I ripped off a piece of paper from something in the passenger seat and started writing down notes. And initially made it for like kids. Like I was like, I'll go speak in schools because the message was really good for kids. And I did that for a couple years, and then I was like, I need it. Actually, I think adults really need to hear some of this stuff too. So it's evolved since then. I really talk. It's motivational. It's a talk. I talk about getting out of your comfort zones because that's really essentially what I was having to do. Because who in the world is just going to say I'm going to go sing in all 50 states, and there's no real rhyme or reason behind it, just I want to do this because I want to use my voice. I have the ability to sing, and I want to honor our nation's heroes. That was it. And I think the thing that was important for me was in the past I was very scattered. I was just trying everything. I was, we all set these goals and we try to stick with it, but then we see somebody on Instagram that's doing something else and we think we need to do that.
Oh
We
yeah.
don't identify our values. We don't know what our core mission is, and
Yep.
as a result, we're going off on all these different trails. And there's a reason why only 8% of people who set goals actually reach them. And that knocks people out of the category because a lot of people don't even set goals. So there's this example that I could use, kind of like pointing to myself, like these are all the things I did wrong, but this is when I finally got it right. And I help people see that comfort zones, really are there because we sit in them. We're trying to polish our fears and our doubts,
Hmm.
and we're trying to stick with them because we don't want to walk past them,
Yeah.
because we don't want to take risks. And right, just one step out of it, if anybody listening's ever gone skydiving, you know that the biggest moment, the scariest part, is typically right before you step out of that plane.
Hmm.
But as soon as you step out of that plane, it's
It's
like a
out of your
whole
hands.
different world for you.
Yeah.
It's out of your hands, and it's also not that scary, because the pressure of the air is pushing at you. You actually feel more stable than on the ground. You don't really feel, yes, you do feel that sense of falling, but at the same time, it's not like, oh gosh, this is it. This is over. What did I do? I don't really know many people that actually regretted doing something in their life that was a big risk. In fact, nobody really knows about anybody unless they've done something where they've overcome some huge fear, some
Hmm.
huge um, situation. So I've been able to see from the perspective of, you know, what I used to do and how I was pursuing this music career. And it was just oh my gosh, so many winding roads.
Yeah.
And then just when I finally nailed down, this is what I'm going to do. No more silver, with those shiny objects that you just run after all the time. I'm actually going to say something that I've never done to certain other options, and that's no. And boy, did that change things for me.
Yeah. I think stepping outside of your comfort zone is so important. And it really, I did that early in my career. I got a
Hmm.
opportunity to go back to, we call it a schoolhouse in the military. And it's where you
Okay.
learn your trade and your job. And then you go
Yeah.
off and you start your career and you go do your job. But I
Yeah.
had an opportunity to go back to the schoolhouse and be a teacher and instruct. And
Hmm.
I said to my wife, I said, I really want to go do this. And she was like, you can't stand in front of a room and talk to people. I was
Wow.
like, well,
Yeah.
I can't, but I need to. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go do this and I'm going to let them
Mm.
train me and teach me how to do it. And I
Hmm.
went there and did it. And if it wasn't for me doing that, I wouldn't be where I am today because
Mm.
I never would have started a podcast. I never would have, like, I wrote a
Yeah.
book that's going to come out in 2022. I
Wow.
never would have done that. I
Wow.
never would have done that.
Sure. Yeah.
So getting outside of my comfort zone and pushing myself, but I make it sound simple, but let me give you a little backstory. It took me
Hmm.
months to even apply for that job. It took me, well, I used COVID as an excuse to not do the podcast. As kind of dumb as that sounds.
Everybody started podcasts during
Yeah.
COVID.
I used it as an excuse not to for some reason.
Wow.
So I make it sound simple, but in the back of my head, I kept pushing myself. I kicked the can down the road a little bit, but I
Yeah.
eventually did it, and I eventually got it out of my head. And I'm sure this is something that you had to do, singing the anthem in front of thousands of people. Was, you know what?
Hmm.
I don't really care what people think of it. Like, I want people to
Hmm.
enjoy it, but I'm only worried about the people who are enjoying it. I'm not worried about the haters. I'm
Yeah.
not worried about
Yeah.
the
You'll always
nonsense.
have them. In fact,
Yeah,
it's a good sign if you have haters because that means it's reaching a larger group of people.
very
But go ahead.
true. Very true. Yeah. So, um, stepping outside of your comfort zone is so incredibly important. And I like that you speak about it, but I want to ask you this. Have you ever thought about writing a book about it?
I that can be something. I kind of had the well, I started a book. I was like 29,000 words in, and remember saying, like, I think the only people that would want to really read this, because it was a lot about my journey, not like the lessons and the application of it.
Yeah.
I was like, I think the only people that'll read this is like my aunt and my mother-in-law, So fortunately, there was the documentary that came out that told that story. But there's some things I've been kicking around with, the writing of a book. I've been so involved with the speaking element that I like to focus on one thing at a time until I get to the point where I could do it in my sleep and then move on and add some add some things. So that's a potential
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great. You've got it coming out. That's pretty exciting. What month is it coming out?
We're shooting for April. So
Nice.
it'll be good. Mine, it's a it's a leadership book, but it's about my leadership journey and kind of how I got
Oh,
to where I was. And it not to turn this into all about me, but in
no, it's interesting.
2019, I won the Air Force Civilian Supervisor of the Year, and
Wow.
huge award, right? And I
Yeah.
just said to myself, man, I didn't do this. Like, I got that award because of all the things that people did who worked for me, and
Yeah.
150 plus people worked for me,
Yeah.
and they did awesome
Wow.
things that I got to take credit for because I led them, which was,
Yeah.
by all means, you get to take credit for the successes, when you're in charge.
Yeah.
But
It's a two-way street.
I just said to myself, like, these things didn't happen because only one side of the road was going the right way.
Yeah.
This was a two-way street. So the things that I did right to get here and to empower these people to do these things needs to be shared. And I just said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna write about it. I'm just gonna start writing about some of my
Wow.
thoughts and things like that. And I finally got it a little organized, and I met with some publishers. I got told no a bunch of times. And I just finally said, I kind of said I wasn't going to do it. And then when I was in Colorado Springs, I met with a veteran owned publisher, and he said, you finish that book and you give me a call. And
Hmm.
he just said, if it's readable, we'll publish it. So I said, cool. So
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. It was kind of
How long did it take? So that wasn't during the pandemic. I mean, well, kind of.
so yes, I finished it in about this time last year was when I finished it.
Wow.
And
Okay.
then I signed the deal, and then I took like another 5 months to go over it again before we turned it over to an editor because it wasn't going to come out in 21. So he was like, "You got some time, go through it, have some people read it, polish some thoughts
Mm.
before it goes to an editor because they're going to change it anyway,
Hmm.
but get it to where
Yeah.
you really really want it."
Yeah.
So I just took another 5 months and did that, and it was a good thing because I really kind of tailored the book to be about you, like, you can
Mm.
read these things and some of my stories and some of my
Mm.
experiences, and then you can apply what you can apply and kind of build your own thought to it. And
Yeah.
it was really cool experience. Like, I don't care if it sells, like, I really
Hmm.
don't. I just hope that it helps at least one person and that mission
Right.
accomplished.
Right. Right. I think that's an interesting thing too, because initially, I think anybody, whether it's writing a book or coming up with your main keynote speech or whatever, um, it can be hard because you initially want to lean on pointing to yourself a lot.
Hmm.
I remember the first time I ever got up and spoke, I basically thought everybody wanted to hear all of my stories about the journey. And I remember after I did it, I was like, I can't imagine myself going up in front of an audience every time and just talking about me when how are they going to take something home? So you got it. And like what you said, it being about you, the audience is key. And I remember it was tough, like coming up with uh, the ability to flip it so that you're able to help other people. I think you deal a little bit with the mental struggle of are they going to even care? Like, is this even helpful? Does everybody already know this?
Hmm.
You're kind of having that inward struggle. But once you get to that point, and I think you said something earlier, I think that was key, was when you realized you needed to get out of your comfort zone. A lot of times that need or that reason has to do with things other than yourself. You'll do something for someone else. Like people will run into a burning building to rescue someone else, and they'll do it in a way. Obviously, that's a comfort zone they're getting out of. They don't even realize they're out of it because it's that spark inside of them that
Hmm.
wait, someone else needs this.
Right.
And I think that's a hook for a lot of people wondering how they're going to get out of something. Find something that's bigger than you
Right.
and realize that there is a person. Before I leave the house, every event, my husband always looks at me and says, you focus on there's one person in that audience that could need this, that you could be that person to them that other people in your life were to you. And then that makes the travel and the grueling schedule, and for you, the late nights working on the book and the painstaking editing processes
Yeah.
that you had to deal with. It's not a big deal. But if you were when I was pursuing my singing career, it was all about me. It was how can I get to, Face Hill status or whoever at the time, Kelly Clarkson, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's never gonna, first of all, you're never gonna be happy with it, And like you said, you're not hinging this book on the sales. You're not concerned about that. You're concerned about if it can help somebody. And that's the thing that drives people to the authentic person.
Right.
That's what makes somebody say this is genuine, this is real, this is not something that Jeff just slapped this all together because he just wanted to become, have the title of author
Yeah.
in his bio.
Yeah. I think it was something I always pushed was, you know, uh, just because I'm the boss doesn't mean I know everything. In fact, it's the other way
Yeah,
around.
right.
I'm put in that position because I'm the most qualified to manage. You guys underneath me are the ones running accounting and the daycare
Mm,
center and the restaurant and all these things that
mm,
were underneath me. I don't know how to do that. I know how to cook my
right,
own food in my own kitchen. I don't know how to cook for
right,
the masses. I don't know how to run a
right.
daycare center with all these rules and regulations from Congress.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know that,
yeah,
but you do. So I need you to be an
right.
expert and to lead me
Hmm.
in a way, so it was always when I realized it wasn't about me and it was really about
Yeah,
empowering everybody else around me. That's
yeah,
when, like, then you shine like a rock star, but you didn't
yep,
really have to do anything.
right.
So I uh
Yeah,
I
it's
talk
about
about that in the
listening.
book a little bit, but it was
Yeah.
just such a motivational thing, and
Mm,
it really changed kind of my perspective on things, and
mm-hmm.
that was huge. Um,
Sure.
so
Yeah.
what are you up to now? What's in store for 2022?
Hopefully in-person events. I have a lot booked, and even this month of, well, we're in January. I don't know when everybody's hearing this, but um, they there's finally all the events that were pushed because of 2020 have all been rescheduled and done. We pushed a lot of 2020's events into 2021. August was when I started in person against events again, and this year is going to be it is on my calendar very busy. I'm just hoping there's not a lot of changes in the next couple of months, um, because it just makes things. You just kind of watch your calendar shift
Oh
and
yeah.
morph like, oh, wait, this is virtual. Oh, no, no, this is now we're punting this to 2023 kind of stuff.
Mm,
So it'll be a lot of travel again, or a lot of virtual, or a combination. We'll see. I think we've all learned the art of patience, and the art of saying we thought we had it all figured out. We thought we knew the exact things that were going to happen, and we just don't.
yeah.
And that's kind of where I am. But it'll be a lot of speaking at a lot of events. Um, that's what I do. So
Well, fortunately, technology has kind of caught up, and we can kind of do, you know, some more of those things. So hopefully, and I know for me, just working as a professional, a lot of meetings got canceled, but once we finally got, video conferencing and things like that set up to where we could use it on a daily basis, the
yeah.
collaboration kind of expanded because it wasn't a big deal anymore. Um,
Yeah,
so
the
that's
hybrid
kind of nice.
events.
Yeah, the hybrid events are
Yeah,
nice.
I just spoke in Iowa for the electric co-op association, and they had the room was full. I mean, this was early December, and then they had uh, the virtual side of it. So you kind of always, well, because I spoke to the green light on my laptop for a solid year, I always say I could literally see through that into everybody's houses while I'm talking. So, it's the combination. I don't think we'll ever get hybrid events, I think, are here to stay. I don't
Yeah,
think the exclusive virtual events are good for all types of conferences,
yeah,
because there is that element of interacting with people
yeah.
that you cannot get.
Yeah, the networking you can't replace
No,
that by doing a Zoom.
no, that's half the reason why you have conferences is to be able to talk to people after, you know, after the sessions are over.
Oh yeah.
It was kind of sad during the pandemic, the thick of it. We would finish a keynote and you just shut your laptop and walk away, go fold laundry. It
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't that element. The energy wasn't there to, get to talk to people and
Well,
see where things lead.
some of the best conversations happen at the bar. You know,
Yes,
people
in fact,
people sitting
go
around the
ahead.
bar, going out to eat,
Yep,
and just
yep,
having or sharing some coffee. I mean, some of the best conversation, best collaboration, and
yep,
best business deals come out of
yeah.
that. Not the,
Even on
you know,
planes, when you're
yeah,
flying somewhere,
exactly. Yeah, you can't
you
take
meet
away that
people and
personal
no,
interaction.
no.
No,
Maybe
you
for the
can't.
educational stuff, sure, because it's actually probably more streamlined, but everything else is sort of, uh, I guess it's a good thing to realize, wait a second, we actually do need these things and kind of like make sure they still happen.
Yeah. So one last question, then I'll let you go. Um,
Okay.
what would you say to somebody who wanted to do something as lofty as like what you did with singing the national anthem in 50 states? What would you say
Hmm.
to them to encourage them to block out the noise and the doubters and just go for it?
Well, first, I think identify your why. Know why you're doing it. If you're doing it because you think, oh, this is a great way to get on national news, you're going to give up because it's not going to, uh, the what do you call it, the idea of doing something like this and the work, when as you realize all the work that's involved, you're just going to not have the stamina because you're going to say, what's the big deal, who cares? But if there's a why and there's a reason that you're doing it, you have a passion for that, then by all means go for it. But also know that 99% of it is not glamorous. 99% of it is you putting systems and structure in place to make sure you can get it done. And that takes dedication, but it also takes diligence. And it takes the ability to say, no one's going to see these midnight hours. No one's going to see this side of it. And I'm doesn't matter because I'm not doing it for them. I'm not doing it for the hand claps. I'm not doing it for the, likes on Twitter or anything like that. I'm doing it because I believe in this mission. And really kind of prepare yourself for the fact that you will be alone for probably 90% of it. Um, Nobody cared about what I was doing until I was state 48 was when it hit national news.
Mm,
It's two states of the everybody was all excited and championing my cause, but everything before that, people for the most part thought I was nuts. So be ready for that. Um, and really just determine that you're gonna be resourceful and you're gonna have to have a lot of um, you're going to have a lot of times where it's just you looking in the mirror and knowing that there's going to be doubts, there's going to be fears, but one foot in front of the other is all that you have to be concerned about. So once you've done all the planning and once you've kind of like, yes, you want an oatmeal cookie, but break it all down. What do you need? You need brown sugar, you need eggs, you need all this other stuff. A lot of times people just go and say, well, let me just go get the cookie, but they don't have anything. They don't even have an oven.
mm,
I'm using this very metaphorically.
yeah.
So get all that stuff together and then work out your plan one step out at a time. Stop, you get excited and you look at the end result, but I got to tell you, the end result, I had no idea what it was going to look like, and I couldn't have told you it was going to look like what it did. I had no idea I would end up becoming a motivational speaker out of this. I did not know. I wasn't going after it for anything but I wanted to do this because I believed in the mission and I would figure out as I went along all the hurdles that I had to overcome.
Mm,
So I think the thing to tell people is yes, it's exciting and get excited about your goals, but also know that there's going to just be uh, very there'll be some very quote unquote Instagrammable moments, but there's also going to be the moments that no, they're not Instagrammable. It's not glamorous. It's not fun. And only the people that are comfortable with being uncomfortable and being comfortable with the fact that this is hard work um, will get there. Otherwise, there's a ton of people that love to jumpstart things, and then they just, what happened? What happened to that idea you had? Oh, it was too hard. Yeah, that's why only 8% of people that set goals reach them.
Mm, that's huge. There it is, guys, from the person who sang the national anthem in all 50 states. If you want to find out more, you can go to JanineStange.com. Also, you can go to Amazon Prime right now and watch the documentary National Anthem Girl and check out her journey and how it all came about and how they recreated it. Janine, it was an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your words of wisdom. And I just really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. One last thing for anybody who has a heart to help veterans feel encouraged or feel appreciated. After finishing that journey, I realized I had this platform, and a quote that I always use is "Do what you can with what you have, where you are." It's actually Squire Bill Widener that said that. I have a team of people who, when I find out a veteran is turning 100 or 94 or could use some encouragement, is dealing with a terminal illness, we send cards to them. So if you're interested in just dropping a card in the mail, wishing a veteran a happy birthday or sending them something encouraging from your heart, you can do that. And all you have to do is text the word USA, or the letters USA, to 33777. You'll just put your email in there. You'll join my email list, and sometimes now it's been about twice a month. It used to be about once a month, but you'll get an email with a mission that is current, that you can send a card. I don't ask for money or anything like that. It's kind of in line with my whole mission throughout all 50 states. I just ask people to take the time to write something, put it in the mail.
That's very cool.
So
So,
that's yeah.
USA, text
Mhm.
USA
Uh-huh.
33777.
It would text the USA to the number. The So if you were texting to somebody's phone number, that's where you put the 33777. So it's not
Gotcha.
together. Or you just go to my website, JanineStange.com. It's JANINESTANGE.com, and then click the page where it says join, and you could enter your email address. But that's something fun for people, and companies do it. Entire call centers have sent cards out to people, and they flood their mailboxes with cards, and veterans and their families are always blown away by it. And it's just a nice gesture, but it's meaningful for you who's doing it and the person receiving it.
Yeah,
It's important.
absolutely. Yeah, go to her website, click on join, and be a part of supporting veterans as they go through tough times or they hit those awesome milestones in their life.
Yeah,
And that's really
yeah,
cool that
fun
you're
birthdays.
continuing to do that. Especially if I was 95 years old and I got a couple hundred cards celebrating it from complete strangers, that'd be a pretty
Yeah,
enlightening moment.
and and one last thing to encourage people to do it. There's a woman, she turned 100, World War II veteran. Her name was Pat Rudd, and her caretaker said whenever she's having a bad day, she goes to that box of cards that she got and reads them. So in case you think, oh, I don't need to, they probably got enough. No, your
No,
card
it
is just as
matters.
important as the next one. Yeah, so that's
That's
always
cool.
fun to hear. Yeah.
That's very cool. Well, Janine, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And, I'm going to go join the list myself tonight.
Oh, good. Yes, we have a current. Well, like I said, there's about a mission every couple of weeks. So and families get involved in doing it. It's really cool. So thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate this, and congratulations on your book. That's amazing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. And I'll stay in touch for sure. And I'll plug that, the letters. I think that's a really cool thing. I'll try to spread the word on that.